I'm curious, has this ever happened to you? As I was getting ready for bed last night, I was feeling a little sad for no apparent reason. And I woke up this morning, and by the time I got to work, I was on the brink of tears. What the heck was going on? I had all this deep sadness that was bubbling up in my chest, making its way up my throat and about to leak out of my eyes. I had no idea what was going on. If we want to understand what drives us, what depresses us, we must always look to meaning. Meaning is what moves people. Meaning is a primary driver. We are controlled by the meaning that we are given, the meanings that we accept, and the meanings that we hold. Furthermore, we can only be free when we consciously choose our own meaning. You see, in my sadness, I began to journal and inquire what was going on. And what struck me was that my sadness was about amnesia, of all things. I asked myself, what is the cost of freedom? Is it amnesia, the willingness to forget? And so I'm curious, are you willing to turn away from the desire to forget and be courageous enough to continue to remember? You see, I've said many times that dragons are revealed in fire. They don't pee on the fire and then tell us that it's raining. They actually step into the fire. And in that, who they were is burned away. In there, they bare their wings and they continue to breathe fire onto the lies that so many others ignore. Real freedom does not come from pretending that we don't remember. Real freedom comes from choosing to remember that which everyone else is just willing to forget in order to go back to normal. But dragon leaders don't want normal because they remember the dysfunction of normal. They're not willing to return to the gilded cage. They want freedom for all. Martin Luther King said, "Let freedom reign." But he also said, for evil to succeed, all it needs is for good men and women to do nothing. There's a term that's usually stated around people who served in the military, and it's that freedom isn't free. So let me ask you, what is the price of freedom? What do you have to forget that didn't work in order to cling to this thing that you've been told is freedom? What meaning have you given to this most weighty of words, freedom, that you simply take for granted? Is freedom the right to do as we like without consequence to others, to humanity, or even to the planet that we live on? As I journaled this morning, I realized that my sadness was a reflection of something that I felt when I was a kid, something I observed that probably moved me into psychology, and that was I was fascinated as a kid by how smart people, the smartest people I knew, would repeat cycles. They would do the same things over and over again. Now, look, I know that this shelter-at-home order has been hard, and so many of us have missed so much of what we took for granted. But at the moment of making this video for you, part of the world is getting ready and talking about moving forward to reopen the economies. And of course, most people will rejoice at the potential of going back to work, eating out and meeting with friends. And I get that. I've missed all those things too. However, let's not forget that during the order to shelter at home, so many people have come to realize that they have been running so damn hard on the treadmill of life that they've missed most of their lives. They've missed the people they loved. During the order to stay at home, people began to actually talk to their families. Families actually ate together. They played board games. People actually lifted their heads from their screens to connect eye to eye. People got to actually know others that they'd only really sort of conceptually knew. Now, as wonderful as all that has been, it's important to know that humans are famously bad about learning from their history. Maybe that's why they say, lest we forget, because we usually do. It's bad when we collectively develop amnesia, but I would say it's way worse when we willfully develop Alzheimer's. You see, in amnesia we forget, but in Alzheimer's we distort. George Orwell once said, the most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history. We destroy the meaning of our lives when we ignore our past. At 7 p.m. every night, We go out onto our balconies and out of our front doors and we bang and we whistle and we shout and we cheer for the people that we've taken for granted. We salute those who are on the front line of the pandemic. We are doing that to salute the often invisible members of our society. And what concerns me, what makes me sad, is that as we return to normal, will the homeless people who've been given shelter once again become the invisible people that we refuse to make eye contact with? Will the garbage collectors, the grocery store clerks, the truck drivers, and so many others who during this pandemic have kept the wheels on our society, those low-paid members of our society, will we just forget them? Will we once again take the teachers for granted, even though we've really come to understand the value of them now that we've had to homeschool our own children? The pandemic has created a fairly peaceful form of chaos, a chaos in which we, all of us, have been given the opportunity to question normal, to create a better, healthier ways of living, of working, of being. Human beings, you might not know this, but human beings are wired for addiction. Not just to drugs and alcohol, but to anything that keeps us from feeling what it is we want to push away, what it is we don't want to feel, what it is we don't want to look at. Well, what if normal, whatever that was for you, is your version of cocaine or heroin? And what if COVID-19 lockdown was actually your rehab, your potential ability to come off your drug? As we think about things coming off lockdown, are we going to automatically go back to our drug of choice? The drug addict who comes out of rehab and immediately goes to get another hit is simply saying that they would rather die than have to change their lifestyle, their career, or the quality of their relationships. Those of us who rush off to get a mainline hit of normal, or as we will call it, freedom, are nothing more than an addict shooting up in an alleyway. But know this, real freedom, it requires us to remember who we were, what we've done, in order to consciously choose something better, something physically, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually healthier. Choosing something healthier isn't easy, I understand that, but to me it seems preferable to death, even if that's death by numbness. So stay curious, my friend, stay curious about the price you are really willing to pay for the drug of normal that we call freedom.